Hey, what's going on everyone? So we just got all the information about the upcoming Ninjago reworks, but the PDF file itself where we got the information is a little bit cluttered and it's not super clear what each ability is going to end up doing. So what I actually did is took screenshots of the character's abilities in-game, and then I took them into Photoshop and edited the ability to make it match what the updated version is going to look like. So hopefully this should make it a lot easier to understand all of these changes. And by the way, if you see my Bricko icon in the bottom left hand corner, that means that this is an edited image, so this is not a screenshot from the game, and I'm going to go back and forth between the old version and what's going to be the new version so that you can see exactly what the changes are going to be. So let's start off right here with Kai, since he was the one they talked about first. So we'll start with this basic right here. Originally it said deals 100% damage to the target foe, and then he has a 20% chance to gain stealth for 1 turn on a critical hit. The updated version says deals 105% damage, so a slight boost there, and if Kai did have stealth, he will deal a percentage of bonus damage, and then Kai will have a chance to lose stealth. So we don't know those exact percent numbers because they didn't give us all of the info, but we do know that there is going to be some kind of increase in bonus damage, and then a chance for him to lose stealth. By the way, not all of these abilities are going to be 100% accurate to the final versions, because it is likely that they accidentally left something out, or possibly even said something that wasn't 100% correct. But this is going to be accurate to the PDF file, which will most likely be very similar to the final version of these abilities. So even if that percent bonus damage on this ability right here is even just like 25%, that would be really solid. 130% damage on a basic is not too bad, especially considering that Kai has a pretty high base attack as it is. I think it's around 3k for him, and he's going to have stealth pretty often, but with this ability he does have a chance to lose stealth, and I don't think that's going to be a huge deal because I don't really see that being over 50% for that chance to lose stealth. And Kai will have a lot of ways to actually gain stealth, of course from Lloyd, but also from Master Wu's new basic, and he has a chance to give stealth to the weakest ally, and Kai doesn't have a lot of health, so he will often be the weakest, but again, we'll come back to that ability. But also, Kai's first special ability has been changed to give him stealth as well. So let's read through this one now. Originally, it dealt 150% damage, and inflicted 1 stack of damage over time for 2 turns, and on a critical hit, Kai gained critical damage up for 1 turn. The updated version will now deal 125% damage, so less damage, and Kai will gain a percentage of pep. And if the attack was a critical hit, Kai will gain stealth for an amount of turns. We don't know how many turns, but he is going to gain stealth if it was a critical hit, and he critically hits pretty often, so that's just another way for him to gain stealth. And then another thing you'll see in Kai's updated kit is he's going to become a pretty speedy character. Right here, he can gain a percentage of pep, so he's going to kind of be like a highwayman, where he's a really speedy attacker that can hide under stealth. And this attack will now only deal 125% damage, so it is less than it was before, but I think his updated basic and especially his updated ultimate is definitely going to make up for that. Kai's passive ability originally increased his dodge by 20% if Nia was an active hero, and that has been completely changed, and now it reads, while Kai has critical damage up, he gains some amount of speed, and then Kai has a percent chance to counterattack whenever Nia takes damage from an attack. So when Nia is damaged, Kai will have a chance to counterattack. That'll probably be at least a 50% chance, probably closer to 60 or even 75% chance to actually counterattack. And then he is going to gain more speed when he has crit damage up, making him again, like Highwayman, a very speedy attacker. And then the part that I am most excited about, his ultimate is now absolutely insane. Originally, it dealt 75% damage to all foes, and all heroes gained a critical chance up 1 for 3 turns. Now it will deal 130% damage. That is going to be like a 4k hit to all foes. That's going to be insane. And then on top of that, he will grant all allies attack up and prepared. So for everyone's next turn, they're going to have attack up, which means that they're going to do a lot more damage. And that might even be like a 2-turn attack up. Not sure on that one. They didn't clarify that. But they're also going to gain prepared, which guarantees that their next attack is going to be a critical hit. So that's going to be some massive attacks after his ultimate. I'm really looking forward to seeing this in action. Now let's move on to the character I'm sure you're all curious about, Lloyd. Yes, he certainly did get a nerf, and it's pretty substantial, but he's still going to be very, very effective, especially when paired with Master Wu, as we're going to see in just a second here. So his basic originally dealt 120% damage to the target foe, and had a 70% chance to inflict accuracy down 2 on them for 2 turns, and if it was a critical hit, it inflicted clumsy as well. And all they did to change this one is they swapped out the accuracy down 2 for dodge down 1. That's not a huge change, it isn't going to really make that big of a difference in the grand scheme of the whole battle. Now let's move to his first special ability. Originally, it healed Lloyd for 30% of his max health, which was a pretty substantial heal, and then it dealt 60% damage to the target foe, and then he had a 50% chance to gain debuff immunity for 1 turn. This has been pretty much completely changed. Now it will heal him for only 20% of his max health, but it deals 110% damage. So it does more damage, but less healing. And if Lloyd had dodge up 2, heroes with heal over time heal for 10% of their max health, and with Master Wu, your heroes are going to have heal over time for pretty much the entire battle. So his first special ability is not only a self-heal, but it's also a team heal. 10% isn't a whole lot, but it's kind of like instead of him gaining an extra 10% healing, that now goes to his entire team. But he does have to have dodge up 2, which isn't going to be very common, and you'll see why in just a minute here with Master Wu's kit. His next ability right here used to give him that dodge up 2, which was very annoying, but now that has been changed. Originally it read, grants all other heroes stealth for 3 turns. If they are Ninjago, they also gain critical chance up 1 for 3 turns, and then it removes stealth from Lloyd, and he has a 100% chance to gain dodge up 2 for 3 turns, and if Lloyd had less than 100% health, he also gains defense up 1 for 3 turns as well. Now it will grant all other heroes stealth for just 2 turns, and this ability is a 4-turn cooldown, so that is definitely worth noting. And then heroes that already had stealth also gain grit up 1 for 2 turns. That's not really going to make that big of a difference, but it might help versus pirate teams who are very dependent on debuffs, but we'll see with that one. Then it will remove stealth from Lloyd, and if Lloyd had 60% or less health, he will gain max health up 1 for 2 turns, and then there is a 70% chance to inflict accuracy down for 2 turns on each foe. And the threshold here is 60% health, so once your Lloyd starts to get low, he's going to gain max health up and become a bit harder to take down. And then I don't think that accuracy down is going to make too big of a difference. It might make them miss a few more of their attacks, but probably not that many. And yes, he did get a new passive ability, and it reads, at the start of the battle, Lloyd's max health is increased by 15%. So at 7 stars gear 6, that's going to put him around 17,000 total max health, somewhere in that region. And so if he gets max health up with that much health, it's going to be quite the increase. And then at the end of his turn, Lloyd has a 50% chance to grant dodge up for 2 turns to the hero with the lowest health, plus 20% bonus chance if the hero was Ninjago. So at the end of each one of his turns, he's going to have a 70% chance to give dodge up to Ninjago allies, and this does not affect him. So that might be interesting with Kai, because he might lose his stealth, but since he's a pretty weak hero, he might gain this dodge up from Lloyd, and he still might be difficult to hit, so that might be something to keep in mind. Now let's move to Nia, who got pretty much a complete kit overhaul. Starting with her basic, originally it dealt 60% damage and had a 60% chance of inflicting disarmed on them for 1 turn, and if Nia had stealth, there was a 100% chance instead. Now it will deal 95% damage, so a bit of a boost there, and there will be a percent chance to grant a random hero critical chance up for 2 turns, and if this ability critically hits, Nia gains stealth for 2 turns. So this could synergize well with Kai. If he gains that crit chance up and he gets a critical hit with his first special ability, he will gain stealth for 2 turns, which will boost his basic attack and will give him more damage. And then Nia can also hide under stealth if this ability right here critically hits, and I think this ability can actually give that crit chance to Nia as well. It doesn't say to another random foe, it just says to a random foe, so that might include her as well, which would help her gain stealth as well. Her first special ability originally granted critical chance up 1 to all heroes for 4 turns, and any hero that had stealth healed for 15% of Nia's max health. Now it will do the same thing of granting that critical chance up for 4 turns, but now you select a target hero, and that hero will heal for 30% of their max health, so she'll have a somewhat decent single target heal. But if that hero had stealth, they will also gain 2 stacks of heal over time for 2 turns, so more healing there. And then on top of that, it will reduce the target hero's stat-based debuff durations by 2 if Nia had critical chance up 2. So stat-based debuff durations are anything that's like a plus 20% or 30% or something like that. So like crit chance down or dodge down or accuracy down or something like that. It's probably not going to affect something like disarmed, since that is not a stat-based debuff. And then after that, other heroes will also have their stat-based debuff durations reduced by 1. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that comes into play. That might be an effective way to get rid of those status effects like grit down or crit chance down or whatever. I don't think those make a huge difference though, so I'm not sure if this is really that great of an ability, although the 30% single target heal with the 2 heal over times for 2 turns, that's not that bad, but I definitely think that this ability is much more effective than it was before. And now her last special ability, originally it dealt 35% damage, which was basically nothing, and had a 35% chance to inflict grit down 1 on them for 2 turns. This was basically a completely useless ability. You pretty much never used it. In most situations you would just want to use her basic, but now it has been updated. It deals 60% damage to all foes and has a 35% chance to inflict max health down for 2 turns, and then she will reduce all foes' stat-based buff durations by 1. So it's kind of the flip of her other special ability, and if Nia had critical chance up, reduce all foes' stat-based buff durations by 2 instead. And also this ability is only a 2-turn cooldown, so you can use this pretty often to get rid of their attack buffs or critical chance up buffs or whatever. And then moving along, her passive ability originally read, if Nia does not have stealth at the start of her turn, she has a 50% chance to gain stealth for 1 turn plus 10% bonus chance for each active Ninjago hero. Now it reads, at the start of battle, Nia gains a percentage of defense and plus an additional percentage of defense for each Spinjitzu hero, and that's probably going to be a base of plus 10% defense and then plus 5% for each additional Spinjitzu hero to match Zane's passive. And then here's the big reveal: when DigiJ takes damage, Nia has a percent chance to heal DigiJ for a percentage of his max health. So Jay is confirmed. I think he's going to be the brick pace character, since I assume Master Wu will be the master event, not just because of his name, but also because I think he's that type of character that deserves that kind of event, especially with his rework. He looks like he's going to be a really, really powerful character. But yeah, Jay is confirmed. I'm really interested to see his kit. I wonder if he's going to have more synergies with Nia, because as it stands, Nia's kit is much better now, but it's still not amazing. I don't think it's going to be like top-end arena meta or anything. I feel like it's likely that in a full Ninjago team, she would get replaced by Jay when he eventually comes to the game. Because if he is a brick-based character, he's going to be decent. He's not going to be a terrible character, because Yeti was really solid, and I don't really see them releasing a bad character as a brick pace. Zane here just got a couple minor changes. His last special ability originally read, deals 60% damage to all foes. Foes that had Dizzy are dealt double damage. Zane gains crit damage up 2 for 2 turns. Now that's pretty much the same with the 60% damage and the double damage to Dizzy enemies, but now it says if Zane had critical damage up 2, inflict grit down 2 on all foes for 2 turns, and then Zane has a 75% chance to gain skill up 2 for 2 turns. And then his passive ability, it originally read, at the start of the battle, Zane's skill is increased by 10% for each Techie hero, and his critical chance is increased by 10% for each Spinjitzu hero, and if Master Wu is an active hero, Zane also has his attack increased by 25%. So that was a pretty solid passive ability. But now it reads, at the start of the battle, Zane gains 10% skill plus 5% bonus skill for each other Techie hero, and then he will also gain 10% critical chance plus 5% chance for each other Spinjitzu hero. So a little bit of a nerf there with his passive. I don't think it's going to be a huge deal, although that 25% damage was looking to be pretty effective with Zane. Okay, here's where it starts to get a bit complicated with Master Wu. His kit has a lot going on, and it synergizes with the different Ninjago characters in a lot of different ways. What his abilities originally did doesn't make that big of a difference since he wasn't even unlockable, so I'm just going to skip straight to the new version. So now it will deal 60% damage to the target foe, and has a 40% chance to grant stealth to the hero with the lowest health for 2 turns. This is what I was talking about with Kai, so every time Master Wu uses his basic, you'll have that chance to grant stealth for 2 turns. Not that bad, it'll just help keep your weaker units safe. His first special ability here is where it starts to get a bit complicated, so it will heal all heroes for 20% of their max health, and grant each hero 1 stack of heal over time for 3 turns. Ninjago heroes and heroes with stealth will gain an extra amount of stacks of heal over time. We don't know that exact number. I'm assuming that it's at least 2, and I'm curious if that would double if a Ninjago hero is under stealth and met both of those criteria. Then after that, heroes with stealth have its duration increased by 1, and heroes without stealth gain defense up. So right there, Lloyd will gain defense up because he probably won't have stealth, and then heroes with stealth will have its duration increased by 1. So Lloyd's 2-turn stealth now can actually go back up to 3 turns when paired with Wu. That's why I said that Lloyd will still be very, very effective when paired with Wu. Another synergy with Lloyd right here that I mentioned earlier is he gives heal over time for 3 turns, and then when Lloyd uses his first special ability, that will also equal a 10% heal to the entire team. Okay, now moving on to his second special ability, it will deal 120% damage to the target foe and clear all buffs from them, so that's going to be nice. And then there is a percent chance to call a random Ninjago hero to assist, and the assisting hero gains bonus critical chance on the assisting attack for each buff removed from the target. So that's not too bad. Originally his basic could call assist, so this isn't going to be as often since it is a special ability, so there's going to be some kind of cooldown. But this will also give them bonus critical chance on the assist for each buff removed from the target. So the attack will likely be a critical hit if the enemy had at least a couple buffs. So if you're calling in Kai to assist, that's going to be a lot of damage. And now we move to his brand new passive, which is probably going to be the most complicated passive in the entire game. And here's what it says. At the start of the battle, Master Wu will gain stealth for 2 turns. And at the end of each one of his turns, Master Wu will grant Spinjitzu heroes that have stealth a bonus buff based on their role. So attackers will gain critical damage up 2, supports will gain critical chance up 2, and tanks will gain dodge up 2. And whenever Master Wu critically hits, he gains plus 5% dodge up to a maximum of 25%, and then whenever Lloyd gains stealth when all other heroes have stealth, Lloyd gains dodgy instead. So this is going to synergize really well with Nia, because on her basic she has a chance to gain stealth, so she's going to be under stealth for most of the battle, and then at the end of Master Wu's turns, he will give her critical chance up 2, thanks to his passive ability and because she is a support. And that's going to boost this ability right here. It's going to reduce the target hero stat-based debuff durations by 2, thanks to that. And also right here, if Nia had critical chance up, reduce all foes' stat-based buff durations by 2 instead. And then it's also going to work really well with Kai because he is an attacker, so he's going to gain that crit damage up. And while he has that, he's going to gain a speed bonus. So Master Wu is going to essentially make Kai hit harder and be much quicker. And then Zane is an attacker as well, so he's also going to gain crit damage up 2 from Master Wu, and that will trigger this right here, where he will also inflict grit down 2 on all foes for 2 turns. So Lloyd is going to gain a lot of bonuses when he starts to fall low on health. Of course, with this ability right here, if he had 60% or less, he's going to gain max health up. And then while Lloyd has stealth, at the end of Master Wu's turns, he will give Lloyd dodge up 2, which will allow Lloyd to do that full team heal to allies with max health up, which is also given from Master Wu's first special ability. So as you can see, Master Wu is going to have a lot of synergies with Lloyd and also the other Ninjago characters, especially with his passive. So I think he's going to be necessary for a top-end Ninjago team, and it's going to be interesting to see how he comes if it is in fact a master event and what the requirements are. And then last but not least, he also got an ultimate ability, which is just as crazy as Kai's. So he will inflict vulnerable on all foes, which will guarantee that the next hit to them will be a critical hit. So it kind of works similarly to Kai's. And then there's an 80% chance to inflict defense down on each foe for 3 turns, and after that there's a 100% chance to inflict disarmed on each foe for 1 turn. That is an insane ability. That vulnerable and defense down is going to cripple the team and help you do a lot more damage, and then that disarmed is going to stop them from using their special abilities, which is pretty insane. So that's going to be a really effective ability. I think Master Wu is looking to be one of the best characters in the game. Alright, so here are my final thoughts on this Ninjago rework. I think across the board there are some nerfs and a couple buffs, like with Kai, but Zane and Lloyd mainly got nerfs. But I think as soon as you pair the Ninjago team with Master Wu, they're going to get a massive boost, especially with Master Wu's passive, and I think overall the team is going to become way better, and especially once we get Jay in the game. I'm really curious to see how effective he's going to be and like what his abilities actually do. And then we're also getting a Ninjago set, which is just going to make them even better, so I think they have huge amounts of potential to actually become the meta. I'm personally close to having all of them to 7 stars, so I wouldn't mind that too much. Although I am worried about Master Wu. If he is going to be a master event, I'm curious if he's actually going to require Ninjago or a different faction altogether. That's definitely something to keep an eye on. But alright, that's going to be it for this video. Hopefully these little edited photoshopped abilities helped you understand this a bit better, because it was a bit complicated. But yeah. Alright, well, that's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching.